Greetings, and thank you for joining us for the 52nd episode of DC Animation with Spenser and Friends. This is an LMG Podcast Production. Today, I'm joined by a dear friend.
Yep, my name is James. Hello, everyone. Well, James Jackson, for those who don't know. Yeah, pretty excited to be here. I don't want to spoil what we're going to talk about, but definitely one of my favorites. So,
I
Spencer.
love it. I love it. James, real quick, just for the people, can you tell us a little bit about your DC consumption? Video games, movies, TV shows, comic books. What DC do you take in?
Definitely a bit of everything. Haven't been the most consistent with comics, but I think a lot of people could say that because there's like 1,052 different reiterations. But speaking of 52, the new 52, that's one I followed pretty heavily, especially with Deathstroke. He had a nice run in there. Um, I did what I said I wasn't going to do.
That's fine. That's all the
But
title of the episode. That's fine.
Obviously with video games, I played all the Arkham games, including Gotham Knights, which isn't technically part of that universe, and Suicide Squad. I played some of that as well. Um, and movies, seen pretty much all of them except for the second Aquaman. Haven't gotten around to it yet.
I haven't either.
Yep.
It came out at a bad time. Like Christmas is
Yeah,
not a good time to put out movies.
no, for sure, for sure. So it's on the list somewhere, but also I think just knowing that that entire like universe is getting rebooted, a little bit discouraging as far as going to see it. Like I'm not in a hurry because I know that that chapter is not going to continue. So
Agreed.
and then in regards to the animated films, there's once again tons of those. I have seen a good number of the Batman films, all of the Suicide Squad, and of course, gotta represent the series, which is like one of the heaviest things for a lot of I think DC fans. Um, Really heavy. Grew up on Static Shock and the OG animated Batman series, Batman Beyond, Young Justice. I mean, seen just about all of those. I even enjoy like the new Harley Quinn series. I thought that's pretty funny. Nice little difference. You get to see a lot of different characters in a kind of goofy spin-off fashion, but it still makes sense for their characters, if that
Oh
makes
yeah.
sense. So,
Okay.
yep.
Alrighty. Alrighty. Well, I appreciate you for joining us on this journey through DC animation.
Mhm.
Today's film is Deathstroke Knights and Dragons, released August 4th, 2020. I'm going to read a synopsis in my own words, and then we're just going to talk about it.
All right, sounds good.
So, we open in a foreshadow on the beach where a very injured Deathstroke washes up. Slade is on the phone with his wife Addie, and she is unhappy with how often he's away from home. On top of the fact that she wants him there to be with her and their son, she also has trust issues due to him cheating on her while on a mission in Cambodia. Slade then reads his son a story about knights and dragons. Now it's game time for Deathstroke. So he raids a compound of General Suarez. Deathstroke lets him know that he murdered El Presidente because he was a trash ass leader, and Suarez better tighten things up or he's going to be next. Meanwhile, Addie is attacked at the house by Jackal, who intends to kidnap her son Joseph. In a flashback, we see that Slade is given a super soldier serum by the military along with, him cheating. In today time, Slade arrives home to his house in ruin and his son kidnapped. Jackal told Addie about Deathstroke, and she is furious because Slade told her that he hadn't lied to her. Deathstroke immediately goes to find Jackal, and Jackal tries to get Deathstroke to join Hive, but he refuses. And, he has a boss fight with Bronze Tiger and an unnamed operative. He handles them pretty easily, and Jackal threatens to slice Joseph's throat if he doesn't join. Slade seemingly kills Jackal and the operative holding Joseph, but Joseph's throat does indeed end up getting cut. Joseph lives, but Addie decides that Slade doesn't need to be around. We open 10 years later, and Deathstroke's still working, and he saves some women from trafficking. He arrives back home and is contacted by the new Hive Queen. She has Joseph, and it turns out his super soldier serum ended up giving Joseph psychic powers. Slade meets with Addie, and she wants to go with him to save their son, but, Slade doesn't think that she's still got it in her anymore. So they share a kiss, and Deathstroke gets to work. He ends up visiting Colonel Kapoor and then finds his way to Bronze Tiger in Kaznia. During their boss fight, Bronze Tiger tells Deathstroke that Jackal is alive and the Hive Queen can be found in the Kerguelen Islands. Deathstroke is attacked in the water, but with the help of some local sharks, he is able to get to the island. He is intercepted by Lady Shiva and he immediately surrenders. He is then taken to the Queen, and she explains that Joseph's new name is Jericho and that his power will be honed and used to take over the world. Slade breaks him out, and together they are able to escape, but it's a trap. Jericho reveals that the Hive Queen is Slade's daughter, and Slade gets lit up and pushed into the ocean. Luckily, Addie saves his life because she put a tracker in him with the kiss that they shared. Rose reports to Jackal that Slade is dead, and we are taken into a flashback of her origin story. In today's time, Slade tells Addie that he didn't know about Rose, but it didn't really matter because, she's Addie's done. So that didn't make a bit of difference. Jericho is making agents fight each other, and things get a little out of hand. And Slade, Addie, and Wintergreen look over the footage of Jericho and figure out that Hive's plan is to use his power to take over the world quietly but effectively. All over the US, Hive launches a series of terrorist attacks, and just as they are about to attack the president on Air Force One, Rose and Jericho hit Jackal with the old double cross. Unfortunately, Jackal saw it coming, and he had preparations in place. Jackal plans to do an old-fashioned kidnapping now that, the Jericho plan is off, and Deathstroke arrives. After saving the president and killing a few Hive soldiers, Deathstroke and Addie end up on the plane where the important people are. Words are said, hands are thrown, Lady Shiva is dead, and we find out that the unnamed operative that Slade killed earlier in the movie is actually Jackal's daughter, and he took that personally. Jackal blows a hole in the plane, which sends Deathstroke and Jackal out. They fight briefly while falling, and Slade ends their fight with a bomb to the chest. Addie, Rose, and Jericho return home, and on the beach, we see a very injured Deathstroke, washed up and alive.
Beautiful
And
synopsis.
thank you. That's the movie.
Eloquently done. Like,
So, James, generally speaking, what do you think of the movie?
I would say I enjoyed it. It's nice to see. There's not a lot of animated media or even just like motion picture at all that focuses on Deathstroke. So, like I said, as a Deathstroke fan, I was glad to see that he's been in things, but he's always either the antagonist or like he does his famous in and out, which I get it, comes with the job. I mean, he's literally a mercenary, so that's cool. I do like that it was not fully an origin story, but they threw in origin to catch you up to tell the story they were trying to tell. I thought that was pretty well done. Um, and I don't know if we're doing ratings yet, but I mean, overall, I was pretty fondly of it. I'd probably I'd probably give it like a good 7.5, as close as you can get to 8. Like thinking about 8, and some like a little change could have pushed it there for me, but 7.5 still enjoyable. I can enjoy a solid 7. I'm not like an overly picky person who's like, no, it has to be a 10. Like, nah.
Okay. Okay. Uh, we will once we talk through the movie, we'll see if that rating changes or if it holds that 7.5. But
Right.
okay. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I love a rated R. I love a bloody situation. I'm glad that this was as bloody and violent as it needed to be for a character like Deathstroke.
Mm-hmm.
It is my understanding that this was originally supposed to be a series, and they scrapped it in favor of just a film. And I love a show, and
Yeah.
I think that they could have stretched this out and we could have spent more time with some people, and this absolutely could have been a show. I think it was supposed to be on CW Seed, like,
Mm-hmm.
but I I think that condensing this down to a movie wasn't unsuccessful. There are a lot of times where something that's intended to be a show that they decide needs to be a movie is poorly condensed or badly paced.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think this suffered from that, really.
Right.
So I think that it was a pretty solid execution. What were your thoughts on the art style? Luckily you have seen several DC animated things, so you're pretty familiar with the vast array of art styles that are offered. So what
Mm-hmm.
were your thoughts on the art style for this movie?
I believe that I would say that the art style kind of set somewhere in between. We've seen more gritty and, for lack of better words, realistic-ish angles for the art style, and we've seen more kind of animated, almost goofy. And I feel like it's set right in between. And that might have been, and I'm just talking out of pure, instinct here. I feel like that might have been intentional because of the nature of the movie, and like you were saying, how bloody it is. And I feel like for some reason, maybe because they were thinking about making it a series, I think they tried to scale back on the realism a little bit, and it left us, like I said, somewhere in between. But I didn't hate it. um, I'm an anime watcher, so I've seen, like, I know I can suspend that. Like, okay, this is the lane y'all picked. All right, now show me what you're trying to show me, and be good. So um, I've definitely seen art styles break, but this is nowhere close to that. I think this was a just a it is what it is type thing.
Okay. Okay. I like the art style. I didn't have any issues with it. I think that it worked well,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that it was like a more tightened up version of kind of the older art style that we see. I think that the people were better proportioned than like the 90s versions where they just had huge shoulders,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't quite as tight as like the DC animated movie universe where you have, your Son of Batman, Justice League War,
Right.
Apocalypse War. It wasn't that tight. So it was,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was somewhere in between those two. And I can appreciate that. I really enjoyed it. So, what were your thoughts on the voice cast?
um, I'm not gonna lie. There's like it. If it's not one of the like just the constant repeaters, I get completely lost on the names of a lot of voice actors, which I'm sure they're kind of used to that. But I will say that just what I go off of is just looking at them and saying, "Hey, does this voice fit?" Um, I will say I think that the voice acting was good. I think most everyone had a right fit. I don't know why, but just for a little bit, at the beginning, I had to adjust to Deathstroke's voice actor. And it wasn't that he wasn't conveying the right emotions or anything like that. I think he captured the essence of him, but just the sound for just a little bit. Like, I mean, good 15, 20 minutes. It just had to sit on me. I don't know why. When I went back and watched it again, obviously I was already acclimated. and I thought it was good. It threw me off just a little bit, but I mean, some things are meant to be grown into. I mean, change is inevitable in movies and stuff like with comics. So I'm not against any change, even if it throws me off at the beginning. And I sat with it, and I think it overall grew on me. And that was the only one that slightly threw me off. Everyone else I felt was spot on from the jump. So
Okay, okay. So in your head, who is Deathstroke? Like who did you want or who did you expect? Like as far as like what's in your heart, what
right.
should it have been for you? Like which version of Deathstroke do you hear in your head?
So that's a funny thing too. I'm never I it's such a weird thing because I'm like I said, there's not a lot with him in it. He's always in and out. Good example. I wasn't a fan of Slade. Like, for example, as a villain in the arc of Teen Titans and everything, he did his job. But I was just like, the voice is just it never stuck with me, and I think that's because, like I said, the lack of representation in live action and animations for him. I'm used to whatever this crazy voice is that I have in my head. And a lot of the renditions of the comics, you'll also see, um, especially in New 52, he'll have like a lot of like concurrent running thoughts, things of that nature, and a lot of, uh, I would say probably everything actually that is actually live acted out. All that is chopped out, so it to me sounds different. Like going to this nearly stoic blank canvas, almost Batman-esque, is what he usually ends up being. Versus in the comics, it sounds a lot different to me when I'm reading it, because of all the sidebars and the current thoughts, and obviously badassery is needed behind his voice. But I think that people, I guess maybe even Hollywood or consumers, have a kind of linear idea of what that sounds like to them.
That's interesting because whenever I think about Slade and Deathstroke, I feel like he's given a pretty wide range as far as representation
Mm-hmm.
because when we see Slade in like I think most people our age are familiar with the one from Teen Titans, and
Right.
that's Ron Perlman. So in my head, that is Slade.
Mm.
Like, but that is a very like menacing, calculating Slade, not mercenary Deathstroke.
Right.
And whenever we see Slade in live action, there are three versions that come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
There's the one in Arrow, who was Australian, I'm pretty sure. There's the one in Titans, who was Hispanic, I'm pretty sure. And then there's the one in the Snyderverse, which was Joe Manganiello, which I was ready for him to be. I wanted to see that. I'm kind of
Mm-hmm.
mad we never really got that.
Very much so. Yeah, I watched Spartacus, and I was like, "Oh man, this guy's gonna kill it." And yeah, we never got
Yeah, I wanted to see this man cook Slade
that.
because I kept thinking like who are they going to get to because it's got to be somebody who's like got some years on him but that can go. Like
Hmm.
somebody who's older but like in really good shape, like who's a super soldier. And
Yeah.
Joe Manganiello was a great choice, and it just never happened.
Yeah.
So, but with that, I don't like I would imagine it's really hard to decide what Slade should sound like to you because we've never gotten a very consistent version of him.
Right.
And through animation, he was in, Son of Batman and Teen Titans Judas Contract and all that. And I
Hmm.
liked that version of Slade. I think that voice was appropriate and definitely made sense to me. But yeah, like the Slade in my head is usually Ron Perlman, but
Hmm.
also that version of him doesn't make sense in other iterations of him. Like I think that you're right. Slade in Teen Titans and Deathstroke are not really the same character,
Right.
and that's because they had to, childrenify him for Teen Titans. Like, if you're going to have him as the main villain
Yeah.
in a children's show, he can't be Deathstroke the Terminator.
Yeah, it's got to be, yeah. And no, I'm with you, and which is smart, like on their part, I would have to say, but yeah, it does definitely. Ryan Perlman, excuse me, the job that he did with Slade on there, it definitely makes it like blatantly obvious, like, hey, I'm the villain, and
Yeah.
a lot of times for no apparent reason, like the man
Yeah.
was a menace, like you said.
A menace. Yeah. Like, yeah,
So
the way that he was, again, just calculating and just ruining these children's lives, just making their lives so difficult.
yeah, and that was just another day in the office.
Yeah. Just how it goes. I will say a lot of the names, because there were a lot of voices I just didn't recognize at all. There was only one voice that I recognized, and that was Wintergreen.
Mhm.
And I recognized him because he was in Arrow. He was uh the butler, whose name escapes me. But um and he's been in other, DC projects. And I love DC's reuse of people. So
Yeah.
I love it whenever they throw people around and keep them in stuff. So since you are familiar with Deathstroke comics, I assume you know who Addy and Wintergreen and everybody is.
Yeah, for the most part, I will say that most of the comments that I read, Addie is kind of just part of his tragic backstory. A lot of them is actually, and this they didn't explore that, but a lot of them she betrays him, and that's why his eye doesn't heal, but everything else does. Um, they didn't really explain his eye in this one, but I did kind of like the switch up, and we got this kind of beautiful little all in the family thing that he never gets because in anything it's always tragedy day
Yeah.
one. So
And I think that this may have been left on a cliff because this was originally supposed to be a series.
mhm.
And so the way it ended was like, oh, this could keep going. Like, we could do something with this. This could be, again, ongoing, but it wasn't, and that's okay. Um it made sense. But yeah, I think I know Wintergreen as kind of like Slade's Alfred. Like, he's older than him and
Mhm.
he trains him a little bit, mentors him, but acts kind of as his butler more than anything,
Gotcha.
or like as his right hand in a lot of situations. Like, he's the one who's able to make a lot happen.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think of Wintergreen as his Alfred. And I agree. I feel like with Addie, she's usually not as upfront here. Like, she's just kind of mad at Slade and tells Jericho, "Yeah, your daddy ain't shit," and that's just what it is.
Yeah.
So, okay. Um, we'll go ahead and talk through the movie a little bit, and we'll get into a little more character stuff later. But we open with Deathstroke just washed up on the beach, and I was like, okay, that should come back around town, like,
Yeah.
because I don't, y'all had like that's not that y'all just go open with him broken and washed up. Okay, that whatever. We'll see how we got there. I'm sure the movie's gonna let me know. And so then we see that Slade is on the phone with his wife, and she's, pissed off because she's like, I really just want you to be here for a
Mhm.
couple reasons. One, your son needs you. And two, um, you had a little tryst. And, you know, when you're here, it's perfectly fine. When you're here, I don't think about it because I can see you.
Yeah.
But when you're not here, it's kind of the only thing I think about. And I was kind of like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And he's out here just telling her, yeah, I'm in sales.
I'm a businessman.
Yeah, I'm just just a traveling honest businessman. I just got my suitcase.
Yeah.
And
No.
he comes back with money. So she's like, well, okay.
So yeah,
And
that cold open definitely I would say puts the audience like immediately against Deathstroke. They're like, all right, my guy, like what are you
yeah, like,
doing?
you kind of you're lying to your wife all over the place. And are you a shitty dad? Like, what's because yeah, like we're just basically like, oh, so you choose killing people over being with your family because you might be able to be an honest businessman. Who knows?
Right.
But he cheated while he was in Cambodia, and then his son wants to
That
talk to him.
Cambodian breast milk, man.
That Cambodian breast milk is something serious. It cannot be denied or rejected. Like it'll get you every time. Is what it's looking like. And I liked it in the flashback. It was just like a they were almost like in the sunken place or like in the soul stone. Like it was just
Yeah.
like nothing and a bed.
No, for real. That was really uh off-putting. I don't know if they I honestly I don't know if there's like a creative decision to kind of show us where his head was at during that. I mean, I could see that because it definitely felt just weird and displaced and like we were just floating through it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just how it was for him, which I can get
And
that.
and maybe because I took it kind of as it's set that way to let us know that it's like a memory or that it's in the past. Like they set it that way like to visually make sure we knew what
Mm,
it was as far as like timeline or as far as like how it is viewed or pictured by the people involved.
right. It'd be hilarious if they didn't do that. And yeah, somehow it was done in a way to make it seem like that was like 2 hours ago.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
like
he's
it'd
on
be
the
like,
phone.
oh, that's what he's doing right now.
I'll never lie to you again. I told you that. Like,
Yeah, so maybe that's what that was.
yeah.
Because yeah, like honestly, yeah, like if it had just been like if they hadn't let us know it was a flashback, we'd have been like, oh Slade, you ain't shit. But
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So he reads his son a story about knights and dragons, and it's like, oh, that's the name of the movie. So, gotta sneak that in there so that
Yeah.
we understand, like, oh, that's why it's called that, because there's a random little storybook. And so now, the reason that Slade is where he is, he gets to work, puts the mask on, becomes Deathstroke, and he goes into a compound with General Suarez. And this is the point where we find out that we're following this Slade because he's a mercenary with a soul. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
got a moral compass. This is not the Deathstroke that we're used to, who's literally just like, I'm here for the highest bidder, and I'm usually going against heroes. Like
Yeah.
and one question I did mean to ask you, so you've played through the Arkham games. Is that your Slade, the one in the Arkham games?
That's I said what I said for a reason. Like I don't think that I will ever personally be initially pleased
Okay.
because like I said, my slate is in my head. Like I really like I picked up my first Deathstroke book before like I was ever even watching Teen Titans. I just initially liked his design, and I was like, "Who is this guy with this like mask?" Or like I remember, I don't know if you remember Army of Two. Like I'll be on Army
I
of
do.
Two trying to recreate the mask.
Yeah. Okay.
I was just like, oh man, I don't know, it's something about this guy, and so because of that, yeah, I just really did create my own version. So I saved any gripe very loosely as long as it matches the story that they're telling, like I'm cool. And like we were saying, that slate that they made for Teen Titans that matched. So it's like as much as I don't like it doesn't match with the way he sounds in my head, like it matches with the story they were telling. It's cool. You did your thing. You still turned out a good character. And it's comics. They're gonna change. So yeah, I would never like put as far about this one thing, I would never put my opinion on a pedestal or try to deter someone like, oh, I hated this voice. Like, no, I'm like the wrong person to gripe about it because a small part of me will never be pleased. But the other side is also pleased, as long as it's done tastefully and it makes sense to the story, which DC, I feel like, I don't know if we said this, I think we did, but they do a really good job just overall with voice acting.
I would agree. Usually Andrea Romano is behind their voice cast, and that woman is the GOAT as
Mm,
far as voice casting, in my opinion. But
yeah.
I'm probably biased. You know, and I don't think she voiced this one. Like, I don't think she did the voice cast for this one, but I wasn't unhappy with anybody. I'll say that.
Yeah.
So Slade again, or Deathstroke, he murders the president, and he basically says like, this president ain't shit. All the people are poor, and he's just getting fat. So I'm gonna need you to do better. He knew that you also weren't shit, so he actually hired me to kill you, but I made an executive decision. And I went ahead and put him down. So I'm going to need you to do better.
Mhm.
And then he's like, and also there's a matter of my fee.
Yeah, let's not forget that.
Yeah, let's not forget that. And then the soldiers, he tells the soldiers like,
Yeah,
oh,
he's
just
like,
shoot him. And then he knocks them all off, and he's like, I am so happy. Like, where's my checkbook?
yeah.
I am happy to pay it right
Oh my
now.
gosh.
So yeah,
Yeah.
this is the scene where we're like, okay, this Slade is not a bad guy,
Hmm.
because we are very used to a bad guy Slade, like just straight up on the villain side of the pendulum, and this Slade is, you know, gray.
Yeah, very much so.
So yeah, like he's got a conscience. He's an anti-hero rather than a villain
Hmm.
in this. And when it's about him, that's what you expect. So, and that's kind of the I mean, this is before it, I think, really got popular, but that's kind of been a thing, is making a lot of, previously villainous people gray, sometimes giving villains their own stories where it's like, he's still not a good person,
Right.
but he does good things. So I think The Sopranos is really like when it started, whenever it was like, we're going to follow this like really morally gray, sometimes despicable character who loves his family.
Hmm.
And like we watch him do some heinous stuff, but we like him, and we kind of want him to win.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely I can say that. I don't know if I can fully accredit it to the Sopranos, but I do know because I haven't completely watched Sopranos, so let me put that precursor out there. But I do know what media felt like and what it was becoming during that time, when The Sopranos came out. And yeah, if things really were starting to, especially the channel was on HBO, um, it was like they were opening it up. Part of it was cheesy, cash grabby, gratuitous nudity and stuff like
Of
that,
course,
shock
it's
value.
HBO.
Yeah, yeah. But they were also opening up storylines, like you said, like making us root for these people that for all the years in the past were like blatantly just like, no, this is a bad person, boom, like this is the good person, we want you to go for them. Like, even if their life is perfect, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like they were like, hold on, people are latching on to these characters that kind of like an Attack on Titan thing. People are latching on to these characters that I didn't want them to like.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
mean,
like, why?
yeah, like there, and at first I was like, okay, it's for money, because
Mhm.
if we can make people love the villain also, that's twice the merchandise we can sell.
Mhm.
And sometimes you do that through making the villain relatable, or, again, giving them gray, giving them a better reason than I'm evil just because. And, other times we like them because of how evil they are,
Mhm.
and because they're evil just because. But yeah, like we're getting away from evil for no reason,
Right.
and we are definitely humanizing a lot of the villains. Like the word evil doesn't show up like it used to.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
Like everybody's got
Um,
their own like justification for the things that they do. I mean,
yep.
even in like The Boys. The Boys is a great situation where it's like we have a group of heroes that we're supposed to follow, but all of them do really trifling shit sometimes.
Oh yeah. and it's funny because as a person who never heard the show, they're probably thinking that that statement you just made was about the soups, and it's not.
Exactly.
It's about the people we are following who are supposed to be the good guys. And I'm like, yeah, man. Oh, especially Huey. Don't get me started on that, but that's not what we're here. It's like my
Yeah.
boy, my boy. But yeah, it is really.
Huey's had such a tough go of it, but that's for another episode because that could be its own episode.
Yes, he could. Yeah, man, but I'm all for it. I love it. And then yeah, even also, yeah, the flip side of that is being okay with not liking heroes, or not liking things about them, or holding them accountable for decisions. Like I think it's funny. It's just ultimately the lines between like fantasy media and like our everyday life, I feel like they're starting to blur. And the more they blur, the more complex characters we're getting overall. So we are getting unlikable heroes and relatable villains, and and the whole thing is relatable because that's really how life is. Like you can live your whole life hating someone because of something they did 20 years ago, but in real life, you don't know why that person did that. And not saying that it's ever a good reason, depending on how heinous, but there is still always a reason. Like maybe one out of 100,000 is just simply I'm insane. Like
Yeah, like just selfish, like Frieza just trying to just be all over it, like Frieza just trying to rule, just straight tyranny.
right.
But yeah, like you don't get a lot of that anymore. It still happens, but it's very rare that like because Frieza is not only tyrannical but also racist. And yeah, like we're not seeing villains like Frieza the way that we used to.
No.
But
Um, but there's a time and place for it.
yeah,
You know,
and it's all about perspective because
yeah,
oftentimes whenever you see something from somebody else's perspective, then it's like, oh, okay, that changes things.
yeah. Because yeah, I mean, speaking of perspective, I mean, if we were to be real, Frieza is King Cold's fault. Like you literally raised him as a golden child, like to believe, like those beliefs in Frieza were instilled by King Cold,
That
and
is
then
true.
it even got to the point to where King Cold had to take back seat. To like, he's like, like I can no longer say anything to you. You're the emperor of the universe, like I told you were, and now you believe it. And if I say anything crazy, you're gonna kill me.
Yeah. So yeah, it's all about perspective at the end of the day. So there are a lot of people in this movie who see Slade as straight up the villain. Like
Mm-hmm.
100% fuck that man. He ain't shit. And the way that
Yeah,
we see him is like, well, I mean, Slade, was it your fault? Like, I mean, you're doing the best you can. You're trying to so yeah, perspective.
yeah,
That's one of the themes of this film is perspective.
yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because, especially given the reveal at the end and just kind of looking back at the initial interaction between Jackal and Slade, you kind of like if you were Jackal, like
Yeah, I mean,
like
I see how we got here.
yeah, like don't even like the part that the line that like kind of stings a bit was when Jack was like, "Hey man, come on, I got your kid. Let's come join Hive." He's like, "I already told y'all no." He's like, "Yeah, I know, but the superiors don't really jam with that." Like literally his line. So he's like, "Now here he is, his daughter." like,
Yeah,
like I kind of feel like he didn't want that fight. I don't even know if he expected it to be a fight because
I don't
honestly,
think he did. I think that he figured, because he says that was one of our best operatives. So he figures my daughter and Bronze Tiger together are,
mhm.
some of the baddest we got. So they shouldn't be an issue. We're going to get there in a second.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Definitely not a problem. So right before that happens, Jackal shows up, like pulls up on Addie at the
Mhm.
house. And she, shows like, oh, you thought you were just gonna get me. No, I got some fight left in me. I may be a mother now,
Mhm.
but I'm a fighter first. But Jackal is too much, and he snaps her arm and her leg,
Yeah.
which was just so terrible. That and yeah, it was rough. Like we immediately like, okay, Jackal is terrible.
Mhm.
Cool, good to know. I will say this is a version of Hive that I haven't seen. I'm used to Hive being led by Brother Blood,
Mhm.
and Brother Blood was not mentioned or referenced at all in this.
Right.
So it wasn't really about Hive. Like Hive was just kind of here.
Mhm.
And often, because both Hive and Deathstroke are Teen Titans villains, we don't necessarily see them work together, but we see them on the same side. We
Mhm.
do see them work together in the Judas contract.
Correct.
So, we're it's interesting that they are foes in this.
Yeah. No,
And
I agree.
yeah, and I guess it made sense that Hive has been trying to get Deathstroke. So this version of Deathstroke was like, hell no, I'm not doing that. But there are versions of Deathstroke who were like, how much money y'all got?
It was
Because
like all of it.
if the check clears, I'm good.
Mhm.
So, um, we see real quick in a flashback, he's given a super soldier serum and kind of how that affects him. They think it doesn't work, and then eventually he's super strong and he can heal. And it's not quite Wolverine healing, but
Mhm.
it's a pretty good healing factor. Like I don't know if he could regrow a limb, but
To my knowledge, I haven't seen it. I'm gonna have to put an asterisk by that because I feel like I read he can do small limbs, but like for example,
so like a
he can't.
toe would be
Yeah,
fine.
but he can't like regenerate his head. Like that would because it's just not. It's simply not fast enough. So anything that he can, he has the time. It's slower. So he would need the time to heal. A beheading, there's no way for him to combat the blood loss for one. And then two, it's just your brain isn't getting any signals.
Yeah, because one of the things that she says to him later in the movie is like, "You're not immortal,
Hmm.
so like you need to be careful." But
Yeah.
we also see in the flashback that he, is a cheater. But Slade gets back to the house and Addie is like, first of all, our son got kidnapped because of you. That's a problem for me. But also, you told me that you were just a humble businessman. What the
Yep.
fuck are you doing? Who the fuck is Deathstroke?
Yeah, he's like,
You mean you're out here murdering people?
yeah.
And he was kind of like, hey, that's what they trained me to do. That's all I got. And she was like, you could have actually been a businessman, but you decided to choose murder. And now our son has been kidnapped. If I call the police, he will die. So I'm going to need you to go get him, but I really don't want to look at you right now. And
Mhm.
if my leg wasn't broken, we would be fighting right now.
And his response to that was in several paces.
Yeah,
like,
he was so matter of fact in this movie.
like, bro, do you not feel the scenario that you're in right now, sir? Like,
Yeah,
you just
no, he
got, you,
was
you just
very
got
matter of fact.
caught. You just got caught with your side chick named Pizza Hut in your phone, and
Yep.
you
And yeah,
you
like
want to
you
mention
got you got me hurt.
that.
And Slay was kind of like, God damn, yeah, your shit is snapped.
So get that checked out.
Yeah, like I let me take you to the hospital. You're gonna need it.
Yeah, that line killed me. I was
Yep.
like, bro. At some
And
point, you just want to say, help, like, help. That's because I was going to say, so, like, honestly, this is one of the this is probably the least hateful adoration of her. And it's funny because like in the plot of the story, she's so hateful towards him, but she's really like desperately giving him olive branches throughout the whole thing, and he's literally just not grasping it.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, I keep jumping around. I'm so bad at this. I'm
You're
sorry.
good.
I
You're
keep
good.
wanting to fast forward, but like, there's a scene like when they're on the boat, and she's basically like, "Okay, what was it? Like, explain it to me." And her eyes literally have hope, and he's like, "It doesn't matter. The past is dead." Like, bro. Ah!
Come on, she's trying to make this happen. And
Yeah.
you are just not. Yeah, that definitely is the case. Like he's he's no longer Slade Wilson. Like he is Deathstroke. And we kind of see that in his interactions with her.
Yeah.
And he'll like Slade will kind of like sneak in there, but like he is Deathstroke.
Hmm.
So yeah. So of course she's furious and Slade is like, I'm sorry, but like I wasn't about to tell you that I'm a mercenary. Like if I told you I was lying, you would have left. So I didn't. And, I had to put a roof over your heads. So that's what I did. But she's like, all right, go find our son, and you better find him. So Slade immediately is like, Jackal, come on. What are we doing? And Jackal's like, I have your son. I need you to join Hive. And Slade is like, I done told y'all.
Hmm.
Absolutely not. I am not joining Hive. We're not doing that. I have a conscience and y'all don't. So the answer is no. Bronze Tiger and a random black lady show up, and she is not named in the movie, but I assumed she was Onyx,
Hmm.
but I don't know that for sure. And we see Onyx kind of in stuff, but yeah, like she's uh, a black woman, very formidable. In Batman Bad Blood, she was the one who was with Heretic.
Okay.
So
Okay.
in that movie, she looked like Dora Milaje, and yeah, she's just one of the baddest in the room. Like that's her power. And we've seen Bronze Tiger several times.
Yeah.
So he handles, and because she doesn't get named, we are to assume that she's unimportant, and that's why she just kind of dies. Like we're supposed to just not think about her again.
Hmm.
And I like the reveal at the end with that because
Yeah.
I was like, oh, she was just, henchman number 4 or whatever.
Right.
Because we know who Bronze Tiger is, and that's why he shows up later and they have another boss fight. But yeah, she just kind of gets dealt with, and he's like, shame.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna still need you to join Hive. And like you said, he was just following orders. He didn't want to be there. He was like, hey, I'm just doing what the CEO said, like, I'm just a messenger. Don't you ain't
Yeah.
got nothing. I'm not trying to recruit you. They are. So could you just please? Like, I'm not
Like, literally, please.
like I'm just doing my job. This is my assignment. So like, could you just not be difficult? And Slade is like, hell no, y'all have my son. And I'm sure that Jackal figured, I have a knife or a sword to your son's throat. You're not going to do anything. And Slade's like, oh, you got me fucked up.
Yeah.
You got me confused with some goddamn body. So, yeah, Slade does save him, and Slade seemingly kills them both, but, his throat gets cut, and they are in the hospital, and Addie is like, I never need to see you again. So 10 years later, we do a little time skip, and Deathstroke is still doing what he does. And this time he saves a bunch of women from being trafficked, which again, this is a Slade with a conscience or a Deathstroke with a conscience.
Yeah.
And he gets back home and he gets a phone call from the new Hive Queen, and he's kind of like, I thought Hive was dead and gone. I dealt with y'all already. What do you mean? And she was like, no, we survived. We kept it small, we kept it tight. We had, little syndicates all over the place, but we are still one. We are still Hive. So, you know, I have your son. And he's got powers. Oh, you didn't know? You didn't know that your little super soldier serum gave your son powers? Oh, well, I'm here to tell you. And so Slade meets with Addie, and Addie, kind of explains, she sent him to Switzerland, a boarding school or whatever. And Slade was kind of like, well, how could you do that?
Mhm.
And she had to be like, hey, watch your tone. How about that? Who are you talking to right now? Like,
Yeah.
you did a bunch of lying and a bunch of cheat. Like, nah, you don't have the right.
Right. Or the high ground.
Yeah, you do not have the high ground. Pizza
Oh
Hut probably
man.
still in your phone. So yeah, no, you're not gonna talk crazy to me. I was trying to keep him safe because last time he was here, he got abducted. So how about you watch your tone?
Mhm.
And so Slade is like, all right, that's fine. I'm gonna go get him. And she's like, and I'm going with you. And Slade's like, you remember what happened last time? I don't think you got it in you. I don't think you're older now. You still got that mom energy. I don't think it's too dangerous. Like, I'm telling you this because I care about you. Not because I don't think you can do it, but because, things may go south and he's gonna need a mom when I save him. And she's like, "Oh, that shit that happened? That was the wake-up call I needed. Never again will I be a damsel in distress. Never
Yeah.
again will I get my legs shattered in multiple places in my own house. I'm not doing that. I got this rogue haircut now, so I
Yeah.
have powers. I got my powers back.
The
So
rogue
yeah.
haircut. She had a whole off-screen Vegeta training arc.
Oh, oh yeah. Oh yeah. She was like, no, not
Yeah.
again. So yeah, she said, no, yeah, what's not gonna happen again is me getting bitched like that. So but Slade is like, hey, but you're not a super soldier, so let's not. I will take care of it. And they share a little kiss, and so Slade might be like, oh, okay, I like that. We got some hope. We may be able to do this. We may be able to
Yeah.
rekindle something. And so he ends up visiting Colonel Kapoor, who is like, hey, Bronze Tiger is in Kaznia. That's where you need to go. But I actually don't know anything. And Slade is like, oh, okay, that's fine. Whatever.
Mhm.
I'm gonna let you live. And then, of course, he immediately makes a phone call and is like, hey, Deathstroke just came by. And we see that Addie is, watching in the shadows.
Yep.
Very, very Batman, just like in the background with binoculars and, sound equipment or whatever. Um, and so he finds Bronze Tiger, who, good news, he's still alive and he's got himself a Winter Soldier arm. So that's nice.
Mhm.
And, they fight a little bit, and Bronze Tiger is furious.
Yeah.
Like, again, he also took it personally because you took my arm and I
Mhm.
didn't like that. And so they fight for a little bit, and then he gets his arm knocked off and he's like, not again.
Yeah.
And that was hilarious to me.
Yeah. No, for real. I yeah, I was cracking up immensely at that. I was like, I can only imagine the amount of cuss words that Slade is in his head right now because
Oh
he
yeah,
did
Slade
not
is everything but a child of
again.
God. Yeah. Oh yeah, he is calling Slade all the way out his name. So yeah, oh that was funny. But yeah, so he says, the Hive Queen is on these islands and you're gonna die. So good luck. And Deathstroke is like, thank you so much. My ride is here. I'm gonna see you later. But I left you a little something.
A little something, something.
Yeah. And detonates an explosive. And I'm sure Bronze Tiger's like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Did I really deserve that? But
And I
it
can
kind of
only assume it's because, once again, we're dealing with conscious Deathstroke. There was a little dialogue when he first arrived because that time initially Deathstroke didn't really want to fight.
Yep.
Um, but there's some dialogue about Bronze Tiger playing two sides of a war because it was lucrative, and him not caring about the people that are starving and dying innocents. So, I'm pretty sure that's where that present from Deathstroke came from. He
Yeah.
probably would have let him slide because he's not technically in with Hive or anything like that, but you're still out here being heinous. So this one's on the house.
Yeah.
Got your
And
little something.
I am going to ask this question and we're just going to see how it goes. Is this movie like Slade destroying a black business? Because all the people that I saw in Hive were black. Jackal is black
There
and
was,
he's in
yeah.
charge. I don't know who he was reporting to, but at the end of the day, Hive ends up being a black business. Uh,
Um, yeah, I would say this. There was probably only one Caucasian that he crossed swords with, outside of numbered henchmen who were masked, so we couldn't tell.
mhm.
And that was the big Russian lady. So
Yes, I forgot about her, but yeah, he had to. She was a boss fight. Like he took some hits from her.
oh yeah.
That was a big lady.
He had she gave him anime wall hit impacts. Like he was turning into a deep dish pizza against the wall. Like
Yeah,
she
like
put
she
it on
fucked
him
him up a
for a
little
second.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, you're right. Like, and good thing that he saved a bunch of people from being trafficked. But yeah, like all the other people, he fights Lady Shiva, who is Asian, and a bunch of niggas. And
Yeah.
so yeah,
Hey, it hurts that you point that out. He is a businessman. We just didn't even know
yeah,
it. He's
you're right.
out here shutting down small
He
businesses
is doing, yeah, doing the
without
Lord's work, I guess.
monopolizing.
Definitely doing what America does.
Mhm.
So, um, Deathstroke arrives and they see him swimming up and there are those sharks are aggressive as hell.
Yeah, like
Like
on
those
standby.
sharks are a problem. And I kind of wondered, like, was Jericho the one controlling the sharks, or were the sharks just doing what they do?
Man, that was a really good question because I mean, even I could see that, but then also I mean, there was some big boys too. Like it's like they were bred. Those
Yeah,
weren't your common like athletic, sleek great whites. Like they were like built like
they
King
were
Shark.
meaty and yeah.
Yeah, bro, like that's all they do is
You're right. Those were comic book sharks.
yeah.
I shouldn't be trying to, be like, well, actually, sharks are pretty docile and they don't really attack. No, those are comic book sharks, and
Man.
they were, yeah, ruining those random henchmen's days. Like they didn't deserve
I
what they were
mean,
getting.
yeah, like one of them legit bit the entire torso off in one chomp, and then the rest were like playing
Yeah,
on
like
with the limbs.
his limbs were just loose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh my.
That is like that's yeah, that no shark has that level of bite, but
Yeah, DC sharks are something else.
yeah.
That's true. Because yeah, I in Thrones of Atlantis, Black Manta gets eaten by a shark, and it's ugly.
Oh,
Now, of course, Aquaman sets that one up,
yeah,
but yeah, these DC sharks are
still.
something else.
Hmm.
So like yeah, the megalodon is still around in DC, is what it's looking like.
Yeah, oh definitely.
So he arrives on the island, and it's Lady Shiva. And in certain circles, Lady Shiva is known as the baddest bitch on Earth.
Yeah.
And they mention, I think, like Deathstroke says that to her, like you may be the world's best, like the world's fiercest combatant, like across
Yeah.
the board, like on Earth, you are number one, maybe.
I'm fairly sure there's only been a couple people who have been sometimes ahead of her. and one, what is it like? Karate Kid, I believe.
Karate Kid is usually looked at as number one,
But she's
and
always in the mix. And then sometimes, well, obviously Batman, give or take, depending on the item, the run. But I mean,
mhm,
she's always, if she exists, top five.
yeah, and Karate Kid usually doesn't count because he's in the 31st century, like he's in the Legion of Superheroes. So like
Mm-hmm.
usually he's not with us,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, like usually some of the baddest people are going to be without powers, I guess, are going to be Batman, Bronze Tiger, Lady Shiva, yeah, like those people.
Mm-hmm.
So
That whole circle, Raja Ghul.
yeah, like yeah, the whole League of Assassins.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, and there are some times where Lady Shiva just isn't it because I want to say in Superman Batman Public Enemies, Batman embarrasses Lady Shiva.
Oh,
Like like it was like a why are you even here? And I was like, oh, that was so disrespectful. Like he was doing some no look blocks and shit. And I was like, all
no.
right, what are we doing? But in that movie, they're getting, attacked by every villain that they can. Like, they're just bringing villains out the woodwork.
Mhm.
So she needed to be easily dealt with because there were heavier hitters there.
Yeah.
But that was the only time I remember seeing Lady Shiva not being worth talking about. Every other time I've seen her, she is one of the baddest in the room.
Yeah.
So he is taken to the queen, and she's like, hey, your son Joseph, we're not doing that anymore. His name is Jericho, and we're going to use his powers to take over the planet. We are honing them, and we are going to make sure that he has everything that he needs to get this done. And Slade is like, well, no, we're not doing that. So he breaks the glass, and then Jericho's, doing some mind talking because he can't speak because his throat got cut.
Hmm.
And so, we're like, oh, Slade is going to save him. They escape. And then he's like, oh, nope, just kidding. It's a double cross. And he's like, you thought I was really, like, you thought I needed saving from you? I hate you.
Yeah.
And you thought I would betray my sister? And he's like, you're what? Oh, you didn't know? Yeah, your side piece in Cambodia? You got her pregnant. And you were just never there for her. So we both hate you. Here's some bullets. Say hi to the devil for me. And they light him up, and then Lady Shiva just kind of like gently pushes him in the
Yeah.
water. And I mean, of course, I'm like, you always check. You always check, especially when you're dealing with somebody like Deathstroke, who has a healing factor. You
Right.
always check. I know those sharks get a lot done, but always check. Never assume. And
Hmm.
we learned that, in this movie, like, no, I need a body and I need to check a pulse
No, for real.
every time because there are so many people that we thought died and did not. And of course, we knew Slade wasn't dead because, like, there was still runtime in the movie, but they thought Slade died. And, luckily, Addie's there to save his life because she put a tracker in him. And so now we know it's Rose, and she's like, hey, Jackal, who we find out is alive, Slade is dead. And he's like, are you sure he's dead? And Rose is like, yes, we put those sharks don't play around. So he's dead. And then he kind of goes through the whole like, well, you don't need to care about like you feel like you're sad. You don't need to care about him. He didn't care about you. And then he kind
Mhm.
of talks through the origin story of basically I pulled you out of the gutter and made you who you are. So I'm your daddy now. And we do
Because
not, yeah, we do not honor that man. And so uh while that's happening, Slade says to Addie, like, I did not know about her. Because Addie's like, you had a daughter and you just left her in Cambodia? And Slade was like, I had no idea. She
Mhm.
was there. Like she was kept from me. So My bad. And that's when the conversation happens of like, what is it that you needed from her?
Yeah.
Or I don't know if that happened at this
It,
point or whenever they were inside.
um, well, it definitely was like a two-part argument, I think. But yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely the part I was thinking about was then because the second time they had the conversation, Wintergreen interrupts him with his
Yeah.
sarcasm.
Yes.
This time, Deathstroke drops the ball. Like he literally was like I said, eyes of hope. Just give me something like sensible to hold on to here. And he's just like, oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And then that's when she's like, you know what? It doesn't matter if you knew about her or not, because I'm done. I
Yeah.
can't be doing this with you. And so uh we see that Rose is I guess Jericho, I guess we can call it training. Like he's training his mental skills and he doesn't really want to make these people fight or he doesn't want to kill them because she's
Right.
like, all right, tell her to kill him. And he's like, we don't have to do that. Like
Yeah.
I could do it if I wanted to, but like we don't have to. We're good. And then he gets a little mad with power and starts making them like they were fucking each other up.
Oh yeah.
And what I thought was
I'm
hilarious
I'm
was
sure that one guy died. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I am sure that one guy died. Like,
I'd be surprised if he didn't. The guy who like was whose face was getting,
yeah,
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 that man's probably dead.
yeah.
But I thought it was funny that they were all like walked in there and she was like, "Thank you so much for volunteering." And he was like, "I didn't volunteer for a goddamn thing."
Mm, I was voluntold.
Yeah, like I was just walked in here. So, and I imagine that all of them are going to need counseling after that. But Slade, Addy, and Wintergreen are looking over the footage of Jericho, and that's when they kind of deduce, like, oh shit, they're going to use him to mind control all of the important people on Earth, and they're going to take over the world that way. Like, not a missile fired, not
Yep.
a bullet shot, just a nice, quiet coup. And that's when they have the second part of their argument where Wintergreen is like, I am so glad I didn't marry anybody because I don't like any of this.
Mhm.
This sounds awful. So thank you for letting me know I made
for
the right
for
choice.
reminding me. Like
Yeah.
I'm getting up there in age. You start having doubts. Y'all just eliminated those doubts.
Yeah,
So
thank you so
thanks.
much. Like this is the birth control I needed because not trying to do this. And then we see news stories where, you know, there are just random terrorist attacks happening all over the place. There's a plane that crashes into the Golden Gate Bridge. The White House is on fire, you know, just a bunch of shit. And the president is in Air Force One and they're saying, like, hey, we need to stay up here because it's dangerous
Mhm.
down there. And the president's like, I look like a fucking coward just flying in circles.
Mhm.
And everybody else on the plane is like, no, we need to not be down there. Like, again, it's dangerous.
Mhm.
And so Jack, you know, the hive starts, you know, surrounding them and attacking, and then we see that, you know, Jackal is ready to set the plans in motion. And one of the things that I realize now is like, oh, Jackal was prepared for the double cross. That's why he didn't want Rose to know where he was.
Yeah.
Whenever he was like, my location has to stay hidden because, you know, we're not there yet. We're not to the
Mhm.
point where I can reveal myself. And I was a little surprised by the double cross the first time I watched this movie. I was like, oh, okay. She did know she was being manipulated because I
Yeah.
did not know she knew she was being manipulated.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I was surprised by the double cross, but I wasn't surprised that he wasn't surprised.
I agree.
Um,
I wasn't surprised. Like the double cross itself, I was like, oh
yeah,
shit, I didn't see that coming. But
yeah,
whenever he was like not bothered by it, I was like, I I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, that tracks. But he definitely, once again, man, so many side chick things in this. But like, yeah, when she was like, "When can I see you again?" He literally gave her that, I can't
I
see you.
mean,
Like,
yeah,
the classic, like, we can't be seen together soon, no, soon. Like,
yeah, like don't worry, we gonna be
yeah,
together.
yeah.
Yeah, I gotta work some stuff out, make some moves.
It was at that moment I knew for sure, like, yeah, he definitely,
And again, I was like,
definitely
these just some niggas.
is.
But that's fine.
Yeah.
And it the whole dynamic between Slade and Tara.
Mhm.
And in the Judas contract, we see that Tara is like, "Hey, when can we be together?" And Slade is like, "Soon." Like Slade does that same shit to her.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this them trying to like sneak that into a Slade movie? Like, is that what inspired that? We have like a significantly older dude who is, manipulating a maybe teenager, but probably like low 20s person to
Yeah.
do their bidding, but knowing that it's never going to be a thing. But again, the difference is she knew she was being manipulated, which
Mhm.
I appreciate. I appreciate the fact that she was like, "No, I peep game.
Yeah.
I knew exactly what this was, and you're not gonna use me. You're not gonna use us." And yeah, he was like, okay. I suspected. I didn't know, but it's always good to be prepared.
Mhm.
So yeah, I've been working on this suit for 10 years. Because yeah, last time it wasn't enough. So now I this suit ready now. So we never see Jackal's face. And there are gonna be some people who were like, he was black? Yes, he was black. We knew that the moment he spoke.
Yeah.
Like whenever he broke Addie's leg, I was like, okay, all right. But so yeah, there
Also,
were there were there were more black people than anything. It felt like in this movie.
no, for sure. Uh, and man, dude, like I said, the only visible Caucasian is was Slade, Addie, Jericho. Rose is mixed,
Yep.
and the Russian lady, like
That was
literally everybody else is a person of color, but majority black,
yeah.
like, which was good and bad. Like, I would have initially took it good, but now since you pointed out what you pointed out,
Like everybody we other than Wintergreen,
yeah.
everybody we don't like is black. And some of the Hive soldiers, like the ones that were fighting each other, like
Yeah,
I know there was a black dude in there.
yeah.
So
Um, but
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
All right, all right. There's enough. There's enough. A little bit of salt. There's enough to, I guess, kind of,
But it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. Not all black people are good. And it we don't
We need to
often
understand that.
see we don't often see a large scale black organization. And you know, the black people were about to take over the earth. Like they were about to, and quietly.
Yeah. And actually, what I want to say, this actually slept on how good that plan was. Like,
Yeah,
if you're being honest, that's a solid plan. You had,
very solid plan.
like, anybody
And
who wasn't in the know would not have been able to catch on. Like,
yeah, because it's really hard to detect mind control
mhm.
and all that. So yeah, so he's like, all right, well, the Jericho plan is off. So I guess we'll just kidnap the president. That's a good plan B. And Deathstroke and Addie arrive and they start, just hitting the Hive soldiers. And so the president is saved, yay. And Deathstroke and Addie are invited onto the plane where the important shit is happening. Like a ladder shows up and they're like, "Oh, okay. Nice little welcome."
Mhm.
And a lot of discussion is had. Jackal is basically like, still trying to manipulate the situation. And Slade is, trying to make a case, be like, I really do care about you. This is not a situation where I abandon you, all of that. And Rose is like, hey, Jericho, I wasn't trying to take advantage of you. I wasn't trying to just use you. I wasn't trying to manipulate you. But, Jackal makes it seem like, Rose, you did to him what I did to you.
Mm-hmm.
And Slade has to be like, no, no, that's not what happened. Y'all actually love each other. Like, don't let him get in your head. And, then eventually everybody's like, all right, it's time to throw hands now.
Yeah.
And, Lady Shiva and Rose start going. And Lady Shiva, she's too much. And she and Addie fight for a little bit. And Lady Shiva ends up getting killed. And then while Slade and Jackal are fighting, Slade is like, why are you doing this? Why? Who hurt you?
You.
Yeah, like, yeah. Why is this? Why? What's happening? And Jackal was like, you will know the pain of losing a child because you took mine from me. And then we get the flashback of, unnamed operative. And Slade was like, God damn it, that was your daughter? Well, I mean, if I would have known that, also she attacked me, so self-defense. But if I would have known that, like,
Right.
sir, you sicked her on me. What was I supposed to do?
It makes it so much worse when you now like knowing that information and the fact that he slung her body to
Yeah,
Jekyll.
yeah,
Like here,
that's
you drop something.
yeah. That does make it a lot worse. Is like, yeah, he killed her, and it was like, there you go.
Like, dang, dude.
Yeah, got a little blood on your shoes. I would have cleaned that up. So yeah, and he handled it well because he was crying under that mask.
Oh yeah, the meme.
Yeah, yep. But yeah, just like
um,
Michael Jordan, he took that personal.
mhm.
And so Jackal is like, now I will do to you what you did to me all those years ago. And this lets us know that Jackal is, also an old man because she was an adult, like his daughter.
Yeah.
So, you know, these old men just fighting.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He was
And
at least. He had to be at least 40 then.
yeah,
So.
and this is
Oof.
10 years later. So, like, he's at least 50. And Slade has a super soldier serum, but Jackal just got a suit, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's about to, hit Slade with the beams that his suit conjures, and he blows a hole in the plane, which he and Slade get sucked out of, and they're, fighting in midair. Luckily, Jericho's able to like patch the plane
Mm-hmm.
for a little bit. And while they're fighting in midair, Slade is, kind of getting beat on. And then uh he puts a bomb on his chest and he's like, all right, we're done here.
Yep.
And, the bomb detonates. And Addie's probably like, not even Slade. Did you see that? Like, there's no way Slade survived that. So yeah, sorry, he's done. But he took Jackal with him, and that's nice. So then, the three of them go back to the house, and Jericho has like, a little reminisce about the Knights and Dragons, and Addie says to Rose, like, hey, you don't have to leave. Like,
Yeah.
we family now. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you can stay if you want to, like long as you need. But yeah, like you don't. We've been through war together, so we are we are family. And also, I'm so sorry we didn't know about you,
Yeah.
so we couldn't be there for you if we wanted to. And so yeah, I'm glad that Addie, even under the circumstances, didn't blame Rose, but
Yeah.
it looked like she knew that Jackal was, you know, behind the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see the beginning scene at the end where we see a beach and Slade lives. He opens his one good eye.
Yeah. It's always the first area to spawn. That when one eye,
Yeah.
couple of extra veins.
Yeah. Because yeah, we need that. So, James, scale of 1 to 10. You think you're keeping that 7.5?
Man, dude. Like I said, I'm not scoring it like that it, for any negative reason. I just feel that there was opportunity for just a little more. And it maybe like I didn't even notice until talking to you, but maybe it's because like you said, they were originally going to make it a series. And maybe I'm sensing that there's more to it. But I mean, like I said, not taking anything away from it, to me, 7.5 is really good. I don't think many things come out that are in the 8 and up range. So I think I'm gonna stay with it. I think I'm gonna stay
Okay.
with it. Yeah.
I agree. 7.5 is definitely what I would give this movie. I thought it was, again, very solid. There weren't just a bunch of holes. There weren't a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of things that I'm like, that didn't make sense. So you're like, I don't have just a bunch of negatives, but it wasn't a perfect film.
Right.
It wasn't groundbreaking, or it wasn't just like, oh my God, I had like the best time. So like there are definitely movies I'd rank above it, but very good.
Mm-hmm.
I had a great time. Again, there were some things that happened that I didn't expect, and I like that. If I'm not able to predict everything that's going to happen, you've got something, you got something there.
You're cooking a little
Yeah,
bit.
because again, um with the betrayal of Rose and Jericho, didn't expect
Mm-hmm.
that. And then because I think in the comic book, Jericho and Deathstroke stay enemies for a lot of it.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
then there are even times when Jericho is a part of Teen Titans, and their most dastardly villain is Slade. So
Mm-hmm.
even like on both sides of things, Jericho and Deathstroke are not friendly.
Yeah.
And so yeah. And then with Rose, I'm not sure what other things I've seen Jericho in, but I've seen Rose kind of just here and there. She's definitely been in Teen Titans Go. She's in the Titans show. Um, she's in Superhero Girls. So
Wait.
Rose,
Wait. She was in Titans.
the live action Titans.
Yeah. No, I watched it. I'm trying to. Why don't I remember her?
Yeah, she was in there.
What's
She was in there later.
what
Like
did
she,
she? What did she do? Because
um,
I'm just
I
not.
I remember seeing her, but I'm not far enough in it to know what she did.
I'm maybe it's just been too long for me because I legit finished it and I don't remember her for some reason. I'll look it up later, but that's gonna bother me. I don't remember her being in there. That's so
Okay,
crazy. Huh.
I'm pretty sure she's in there
No, yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just like, what did
because
I do?
like I remember the actress who plays her. Like I can see her in my head.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, she's in there, but yeah, I can't give you much beyond that. And I
Oh,
even feel like they gave her an eye patch in it. Like I feel like she's only got one good eye.
oh God. Okay. I man, I guess it was too long ago for me then. I didn't know she was in there. That's cool though.
But
Nice touch. Yeah, Deathstroke was definitely in a later season of that as well.
yes,
Um,
because I remember seeing the dude who played Deathstroke, and I like him and stuff.
mhm.
But I was kind of surprised. I was like, so Deathstroke, they're going Hispanic in this. Okay. So, oh, I mean, cool. That's what we're doing, but like that's a little different.
Yep.
So, yeah. Um, all right, James, anything else on the movie?
um, man, no, I don't think so. One thing that I will say, I know that we kind of addressed it already, but some people were complaining pretty much about Shiva's power scaling, quote unquote. Um, and to me, Like you said, she's been inconsistent anyways, which is a good point. Also, is it just I don't know. She just did it to me how when I was watching the film, it just kind of seemed like she just very much stayed in her lane. Um it didn't seem like she was interested in much. It's she really wanted to fight Deathstroke,
Yep.
didn't get to, and everything else was just kind of like she's swinging her swords. Not to say I don't think she was like greatly weakened or anything like that because she still whooped ass, and technically died by a sneak.
Yep.
So
Yeah, she got snuck.
yeah, so I think she might not have been at her precipice of how strong she's been before, but it wasn't like a great degradation, I wouldn't
Yeah.
say.
I would say that she wasn't poorly represented just because whenever she fought Addie, she won.
Mm-hmm.
And Rose is also a super soldier through Deathstroke's seed. Like his super soldier serum kind of just made her, enhanced strength, speed, stamina. Like she's essentially also a super soldier.
Right.
And so whenever their fight was pretty even, I was like, that tracks because
Mm-hmm.
again, like Lady Shiva's a lot more skilled, but going up against a super soldier, you go struggle a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like Lady Shiva, we could have seen her cook a little more. She was very much a henchman in this film. And but I understand why Jackal had her as his number two. Like that's who you have as your number two
Yeah.
is Lady Shiva. And we normally see her associated with the League of Shadows. And I think that she's kind of just like, again, if the check clears. So
Fair enough.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think we could have gotten more from her, but I don't think she was badly utilized. And I think that had this been a full series, we would have probably been able to see her cook a little more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to say this, and maybe it's just me being weird. I thought I know she got stabbed in the neck. But the timing and just the way it looked when they showed her cough on her blood, it was just like a singular cough. I don't know. Maybe I just don't trust because we've seen so many things and there is stuff like Lazarus Pits, whatnot as well. I don't think that if this would have continued, that was the end of her.
Okay.
I don't know. And I think I could be overreading, but just when I seen it, I remember when I very first saw it, I was like, that was weird.
Okay.
Like it was just I don't know. It was weird. I didn't trust it.
I think she's dead just because of how long she was there. Because, I mean, there's even a point when, like, we just see her, like, in the background on the floor with the sword in her neck. So,
Yeah,
whenever I
yeah.
saw that, I was like, okay, she's done.
No, I get
She's,
you. I get
she's just
you.
still there while everybody else is doing stuff. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
done. So yeah, if I hadn't like seen her later dead, then
Just
I would have also been like, she could probably survive that. Like
right,
this,
maybe.
yeah.
No,
Like if she also gets sucked out of the plane, she end up in the right position, she'll be fine. She may not talk again, but she'll be okay. No, I was like, no, but she's dead.
yeah.
It was a little too long. Like I saw a body. So that's
Like
when you don't know is whenever
yeah.
you don't see a body. No, I
You're right. You're
saw
right. You're
her.
right.
She's dead.
Yeah, yeah. I missed that little background image, but thanks.
Yeah.
I was like, what's up with that cough, man? A singular cough? You're dead. Like I was like, it's just so classically like fake death that I was like, are you?
Yeah,
She's
they
like,
gotta
yeah,
let you know.
she's dead. She coughed.
Yeah, come on. That's the sign. Like you always cough before you die. Like you always cough up a little blood. And that's how we know. It's like, oh, that really hurt.
Oh man,
But
yeah, good
okay.
stuff, bro, man. Good
All
stuff.
right. In the next episode, we will be discussing Superman Men of Tomorrow. So until then, salutations.